the first thing we ended up doing was saying, well, let's immediately do a faith-ish protest in Pasadena. It had to be 2,000 people at least. The entire Civic Center plaza was filled. Everybody was like 6 feet apart. This idea I had, which was to me, the most powerful moment of the thing, which many people who were there would tell you they probably had the same experience, was we told people to bring noisemakers. We didn't tell them why. We just said bring noisemakers. And then at some point, we made noise for the length of time that he was on George Floyd's neck. For me, that meant clanging a tire iron against another piece of metal. 7 minutes and 23 seconds is, when you do it like that, it feels forever. You can hear one person just screaming. Other people are banging on things. Some people are chanting. Some people were just wailing. It was just so, it was like grief came out, anger came out, hope came out, tears came out, yelling came out, body movement came out, all together in this big, huge body of people and a great cacophony of sound. And it will forever be one of the most powerful moments of my life thus far. And I can't imagine anybody who was there forgetting it. But it definitely gave me more faith in people, because I saw the rage, just like, it was such a clear, obvious, in your face example of anti-Black police brutality. Like, it was so egregious. And I wondered, you always wonder, will people yell like they should yell? And so many people yelled. So there was a way in which my faith was increased in the possibility of change. And the whole question of my faith during the pandemic and all that it included, including George Floyd's murder and everything that followed, is one I'm still unpacking.
Well, when I first saw the full tape, it just really brought up a lot of old feelings, that has to deal with our culture, or I'm an African American, our culture of going through slavery, of going through years of people not believing what the police do to us. And even when it's on camera, it's not believed, or we don't get a fair trial. So it was very jarring for me, because you see all these things, even when you had the young man with the hoodie down in Florida who was killed, Trayvon Martin. I was just praying that, God, can we finally get some justice?
Right.
Because it's just too painful to keep going through these things and then you see the same result.
I got into law after my dad's false imprisonment. He ultimately vindicated himself and showed me how you could actually use the law to achieve justice. Often the law is used to thwart justice. And I think that'll take us into what we're going to talk about with respect to George Floyd, because what we saw as a nation with Floyd was the law thwarting justice. Killing George Floyd is the opposite of justice, right? That's inflicting a gross injustice. When I saw the murder of George Floyd, I had the distinct sensation of deja vu all over again, or better, racial injustice Groundhog Day. Here I was seeing yet another unarmed Black person killed. It turns out the jury said that George Floyd was murdered by a police officer, and I had seen that same scenario and that stomach turning tableau.
I have seen things like this, unfortunately, a lot. I'm from South Central Los Angeles. The first time I saw something televised like that was, long ago, and had seen things like that, Rodney King. So it was similar to that situation, but Rodney King didn't die. I think there was something that was different than other incidents like this. One, that it was videotaped so clearly. It was a time where all of us were on lockdown at home. And, I think it also didn't allow the same kind of processing and support that we would typically have, where you would be with, able to be with your community and talking things through. And yes, maybe there would be anger and frustration, but there would be this sense of people coming together to support each other. And there wasn't that. And every patient who saw me, mostly through telehealth, needed and wanted to talk about that. And these were kids that were working with me because they had medical conditions, such as chronic pain. But all of the kids were talked about how all of them saw the videos, unfortunately. It was all over the news. It was more on social media, and they were all over social media because at the time we were in the pandemic, and that was their main source of connection to their own peer group community. And so they were probably seeing things maybe before their parents saw things. And it really increased a lot of anxiety, a lot of, sort of a feeling of being unsafe in the world. And as if, particularly for BIPOC children, as if their lives did not matter, which I think is where the term, Black Lives Matter became really important for many individuals, whether they were Black or not. And social justice became something really important to young people, probably more than ever before.
Well, when George Floyd was murdered, we were in quarantine, so there were no classrooms. But a lot of the teachers, they were doing Zoom, and there was a discussion, and a lot of the students, they did want to discuss what had happened over the internet, over Zoom. And so it was, if you remember, we were quarantined. A lot of the restaurants, Taco Bells and Pollo Locos were closed. Movie theaters were closed. So we really didn't have a lot of interaction with each other. And so I think that students, they wanted to bring it up. They wanted to talk about it, whether it was a conversation of them having their own opinion that they wanted to express, or whether it was something that they wanted to hear what we thought, or how that impacted us. And I think it was good that we were able to conversate about it, because you were looking at it on the news, you were hearing what other people were saying about it, and it was just, it really had an effect, because it just brought that conversation all over again. Even some of the nicest people that I knew, counselors and administrators, and even some of the nicest people that you'll ever meet were so upset. I mean, just like, how dare that person do that, and how, you heard him crying for his mother in his last minute. So it was, I think it had a profound effect. I think a lot of people were even traumatized by what we had seen.
Last summer, I had a chance to go to George Floyd Square, and it was hauntingly beautiful and sad at the same time, but it felt like a place that the people demanded. And I know that was true, because once everything was done, the city actually wanted them to take down the memorial and remove the barriers, but the people categorically said no. and it's there because it's a place where you know something important happened. But it also reminded me of like the Lorraine Hotel in Dr. King. And as I left there, I wondered how many more places like this will we have to construct as the people and leave up as memorials to 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 egregious uh acts where law enforcement has taken Black lives. And then how many more hashtags will we have to, how many more say their name chants before there's any type of uh, acts taken on behalf of the people.
Yeah.
No, and that's what makes me still do the work. It makes me, that's what makes me get up to do the work, because we have to. The people have to do the work because, like I said, we keep each other safe.